Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome to the beautiful, outback of Belgium. Welcome to the Spa-Francorchamps for round 4 of the ERA Sunday Championship. My name is Stephen Koenig, and it's absolutely wonderful for you all to join us. We got Tim on cameras, we got Jim on the flag, and it is going to be a wet race for our drivers here at Spa-Francorchamps, where they're going to have to battle it out to see who can stand at the top. Question is, who's going to be brave enough to keep their foot firmly planted as they blast around the circuit? It is 7 kilometers long with 20 corners to remember, and was opened in 1921, having its first Formula 1 a little bit later into 1925. Spa-Francorchamps has changed over the years from a 25-kilometer circuit down to a 7-kilometer circuit. Still one of the biggest that we have racing for the calendars. Doesn't matter where you are, it is still one to keep an eye out for, and a fan favorite for all. But that being said, our drivers looking to have a lot of fun here tonight and looking to push the boundaries of what they can do. The question is, who's going to be able to stand on top come the end of the race? Who's going to be able to move forward come the end of the race? I mean, these are little factors that many of the drivers aren't going to be considering for their pit stops, for their drives, and most importantly, for their championships, as we're going to be underway for our qualifying. Now, we're just trying to get our camera system to work out and get us up and going, so apologies for the short delay, but we are just trying to get the camera system to just work with us and get going. But that being said, Eau Rouge, that's generally flat out in these conditions, are going to be, is going to be a little bit of a problem for most drivers. And those that feel brave enough to go and take on the long race are going to have to think about this very strategically. How far are they willing to go? Where are they going to push? And where are they going to make up time? That being said, we have got drivers out on the track. We've got our cameras up and working. Thank you very much, Tim. And let's head down to our goals. So our gold drivers currently out on circuit, giving it everything they got. First time feeling the wet out properly and seeing where it's all going to run towards the end of this race a little bit later on. But Finn Holland, Patrick Miles, they're hoping to really get a good run here. Ulrich de Jager hoping to move up through the order as well. Then we've got the likes of Benjamin Till. It's Dr. Bean 33 Till. Benjamin Till going and having a bit of fun out there. Then we've got Mr. Hayter himself, Federico Calgero, out on circuit at the moment. Lewis Knight, David Young. And then we got Paul Escaleras, along with Chris Heineke, Richard Verheij, who's just come back from racing at Red Star Raceway this past weekend in the NX Legend. Had a chat to him a little bit, and he said the competition is fierce here in the ERA Sunday Championship. And a massive welcome to you all. That's absolutely wonderful to see. Ruan Heineke, who we'll see racing out a little bit later. Griffin Sim Racing Team being supported by Crazy Stunts, Antonio Gamble, and so many more looking to really push their way to the top. Darren Christie going to be also looking to have a stellar run this time out as drivers starting their first flying lap. Nicholas Boris out there in the Porsche, hoping to push a little bit harder. But let's go on board with him quickly and just get a perspective of how wet this circuit is and how gentle You have to be on the throttle, on the brakes to ensure that you get going. For anyone that's just joining us, this is our gold category first. They're heading out for their 10-minute qualifying. Then they'll have to pull in, which will then release our platinum. And followed by that, after 10 minutes, will be our diamond. So drivers are going to have to keep a very, very close eye on the times, especially trying to push that a little bit harder and not to get caught out at the same time. So, as we're waiting for them to put a first time on the board and get us underway here at Evolution Racing Academy, we're also going to take a look towards the points and give you a bit of an idea who is leading out our gold division, and that is going to be a bit of an interesting one due to how close the championship has formed, especially after Suzuka has been a, well, win or loss for a couple of drivers, going and thinking what do they need to do to stand at the top. Question is that going to be the make or break for many of them? Well, Lewis Knight, who took the victory, is going to be hoping that it's not the case and that he can keep the momentum going. He took an unexpected win last time out, and he's hoping that he can do it all over again here at the beautiful circuit of Spa-Francorchamps. Nicholas putting a good time of 1:29. Ulrich Diaga firing back with a 1:29.9, just slightly ahead of Nicholas. And we got Patrick moving further down. Chris Heineke out there in Nissan GTR, out at the top, 1:29.4 on his first flying lap. Rich Fanny down to 6th place as Nico Lawrence comes across the line with that McLaren up into 5th. And Dr. Bean going and driving, that is Benjamin Till, hoping to have a good run at the moment. Mr. Till is going to be hoping to really push his way to the sharp end of the field. Nick Lawrence a little bit further down as one of our newer drivers coming in, Bron Cox, going and showing what the Stunt Possum can do out in a very interesting car, the Audi R8. Not many drivers have decided the Audi R8 is going to be a very, very strong vehicle for them to go and battle it out. And let's see who's going to see where the drivers are going to move forward. Unfortunately, there is a bit of an odd one because Jason Farmer, who is not on the grid tonight, will be supporting his fellow Griffin Sim Racing drivers from the sidelines, which is going to make things rather interesting for the championship. He's had some highs, he's had some lows, and he's going to try and see where it goes. At the moment, Heineke, Dialga, Porras, Cox, Knight, Bells, Young, Lawrence, Till, Calgero, Rich Van Holland, Christie, Hayter, and Suarez round out our goals as it stands for the top 15, with Ulrich Diaga following in tow right behind Nicholas in that Porsche. And he's got to be careful not to get too close, otherwise you are going to land up seeing absolutely nothing out on the circuit. And you need to ensure that you can see every brake marker. Through Blanchemont they go towards the bridge. It's going to be a very, very light brake. You don't want to get too hard onto the anchors and bring the revs all the way down, as Ulrich Diaga hoping to utilize that tow a little bit more. In through the left-hand at bus stop and charges his way through. Chris Heineke still holds the fastest lap with a 1:29.4, and that gets beaten out by Ulrich Diaga and Finn Van Holland. Sorry, that was Nicholas. That was Finn Van Holland that was ahead of him. Windrush Racing just pulling him along. Chris Heineke fires back with a 1:28.7 with Nicholas down into 4th. At the moment, David Young, a very good run from him, 1.3 up on his time. Richard up into 6th place, losing out a little bit to Nicholas and the likes of Nico Lawrence, who moves up into 3rd place. Rom hoping to keep ahead. Till down into 8th position at the moment, going keeping close eye on the mirrors. Rom Cox up 0.3 on his personal best. The 718 is going to get a really good time and puts a 1:29.810 over Lewis Knight. Remember, Lewis Knight got the victory last time out, now sitting in the top 10 of our gold division, ahead of Patrick Colgero, Darren Christie, and Hayter, along with Scaleris at the moment. So a little bit further down the order. Finn Holland, 0.3 up on his time, and Heineke, 0.6 up on his time. Trying to push that a little bit harder in the Nissan GTR and in the Porsche. Nicholas hoping to do the same. 0.2 up along with David Young in the Ferrari 296. Ooh, very, very wide. Unfortunately, that's going to invalidate his lap with only 50 seconds to go. Unfortunately, going to be waiting out that little bit more. Rich Vanede currently sitting 0.4 up. So Rich Vanede a little bit down, gets a little bit of a tank slapper through Puan, and that's going to compromise his time. Patrick, however, 0.7 up on his time. The BMW getting lots and lots of grip out there and having a ton of fun. So it looks like for the front engines, this weather condition is helping him out a tremendous amount. However, for our mid-engines, it's a little bit more tricky out at Spa. With 20 seconds to go, though, who can put their time right up in the gold division? Who will be starting first to the golds and have the advantage at the start? Heineke, 0.5 up. Lawrence, 0.6 up on his time. And it's going to be heartbreaking as we're going to see Finn Holland, unfortunately, not able to improve. Patrick, not able to improve too much into the top three, but a 0.5 up. He's managed to really get a good time on the board. Heineke back up into first place with a 228.6. Lawrence next time through, 0.4 up. Gloss the drive out of the bus stop. Holds on to third place with a 129.1. With Bron Cox, the last of the drivers, it's currently really high up on his time. Federico Calgero's 0.2 up. Bron currently 0.7 up on his time. Can bring it down to a 129 dead if he can keep his foot in it with the RDR8. The stunt possum cross the line up into third position with a 129.1. Narrowly missing out right at the line. Calgero, next one to come through. Trying to figure out if he can move up out of the bottom 12 into the top 10 of his condition, his class, and he's up into 11th with a 129.8. Unfortunately, not able to improve. Nicholas going to be down, but we release our platinum division. This is essentially the pro-ams that are out on circuit. Let's take a look who's here. David Roth along with Henry Platt a little bit further down, and we've got the likes of Chris Wall out on circuit. Paul the Wolf Enter continues on his charge. Martin Spritzer trying to get a real good time. Ricky Beckler going and pushing his hardest now, wants to get into the top three for the Griffin Sim Racing team in the Platinum Division. Andres Rodeo and SM Domingo will be doing exactly that as well. Sebastian Luxon, Flo Skip, and along with Daniel Mutsuma, who was banging doors with Chris Heineke, not Chris Heineke, with Chris Wall, down the back main straight of Suzuka, right to the line. Very, very close finish between them. And currently leading out the Platinum is Ricky at the moment with a 33 points, with Neil Kribal going and running in second place. However, Neil is not here tonight and will have to just keep an eye on the times. You do have a drop round in the championship, but you got to make sure it works out. David Roth going hard on the brakes just to try and slow the car down, give himself a little bit of room to play with as he makes his way through the bus stop to start his first flying lap here at a very, very, very wet Spa-Francorchamps out in Belgium. And once again, a massive welcome to you all. If you're just joining us, I hope you got your jackets, I hope you got your umbrellas, and I hope that you have got your armbands on, because we are going to be swimming here tonight for our race and mandatory pit stop. Now, the drivers are not expected to change tires. This is an interesting play. Changing tires right during this race is, well, can work, but not ideal circumstance. So we'll have to see how the drivers are going to work their strategies into play, because those that do have a success time penalty will have to consider their pit stops. Whether it is going to be a change of tires for those that don't, well, put in the fuel, get back out there and pushing as hard as you can. The least amount of time in the pits, the better, especially in these conditions. You want to try and keep the momentum up all the way through. So we're keeping an eye on Isam Domingo in the 31, going and putting his first time on the board. He's going to have to just really keep it all together in the BMW for the Project Vapor team. Has been having an up and down season. Isam Domingo is really hoping to try and improve his season, going and scoring no points at Silverstone, no points at Watkins Glen, and only 10 points at Suzuka. At Watkins Glen, he went and absolutely ate the wall with a whole bunch of carnage going on, and now has to try and see where he can do. He's tied with points with Paul Fenter, who is also sitting with 2 DNFs during the course of the season. A 228.6 is the time to beat. 226 is going to be the one you're going to have to aim for as our drivers looking to set the best lap time on the board, and that is already Isam Domingo up into 9th place. He's going to hope to do it yet again out on the track. And Lewis Knight, unfortunately, dropping further down. Chris Wall up into 7th position. Henry Platt up into 2nd with a 228.8. This was a first flying lap, trying to see where it all goes. Daniel Mutsma catching up to Ricky Beckler at the moment, trying to see where he can make up a little bit of time and how he can close the distance. Paul Fenter runs out a bit wide, and that has invalidated his time out through Eau Rouge into Radeon, and just not going to be happy on that one. Flo Scub, next one through, clean exit on his part. Sebastian Luxon out there in the Lamborghini, going and chasing, closing up at a rate of knots at the moment, hoping to utilize the tow from Flo, who is going to be really looking to stand on top. David Roth is sitting with a 2-minute 28.815. Mon Spritzer out in the track tool team sits with a 228.825. Henry Platt down into 4th place with a 228.8 as his best. But let's see what they can do. Martin hoping to bring the track tool team to the sharp end of the field. Platt is currently fastest out on the circuit, but it's got to carry the momentum through. Can he get it down in closer to the 227s, which many of the drivers have been considering is a possibility? Sebastian Luxon going and biting some of the curb through Pouon, having to really keep that Lamborghini in check. Unfortunately, is running into a tough time to carry a lot of momentum through and taking a little bit more ginger through it. So, let's see how it runs at the moment for our drivers. Ryan giving a little bit of information. There is a time lock for 25 seconds on fuel, so the tire stop only costs 5 seconds. Very, very true. That 5 seconds is the difference between January and February out on the circuit as well. Do you really want to be starting out on a little bit of colder tires, trying to break them in, or are you going to try and utilize some of the heat that sort of is retained at that point? Ruben Heineke, we'll see him out a little bit later in the Diamond Division, hoping to make it work out in his favor this time round. David Roth going and make his way through towards bus stop. Mon Spritzer currently quickest out on the circuit at the moment, as he's looking to put himself up into first place. Chris Heineke still stands with a 228.6, but I do think our platinum drivers are going to look to make it work out in their favor. David Roth was a 233.1 on last lap. Spritzer's going to be a little bit quicker this time by 0.5 up on his time. Really boots it all the way through and across the line with a 228.5. It is the track tool team up to the top. David Roth in 3rd place at the moment, trying to get a little bit more pace underneath him. Henry Platt, last lap time was a 228.9. Not better than his best lap time. a little bit closer, but he is currently the quickest, finding out a lot of time through the likes of Eau Rouge. 1 minute 34 to go left of their qualifying. Issam Domingo, Sebastian Luxen also up on their time. Paul Fenter ahead of our leading in the championship for the Platinum, Ricky Beckler, who's currently 0.9 up on his time. So the drivers are trying to figure out where can they gain that little bit of time, where can they move forward up through it all. Flo's Cup a little bit further down is right at the back of the pack for his division, but let this not be a thing that fools you. Flo's Cup has been rather consistent throughout the season. Suzuka, very good one, started at the back of the pack, but was able to fight his way in towards the top 20 without going and having major passes. Just by keeping himself out there, just by keeping himself going, he was able to move forward each and every step of the way. Spritzer still holds on to the top. Luxen trying to go and gain a little bit more pace. 0.5 up over everyone. Roth losing out a little bit of time. Henry Platt, unfortunately, invalidating his lap time on the way through. So it's going to be Sebastian Luxen around Puon, aiming towards bus stop. Is this going to work out in his favor? Late on the brakes, aims for the right-hander. Beautifully done on the apex. The Lamborghini looks like it's going to work out. Can he get a 227? He's 0.7 up on his time, and he will come across to put himself at the top with a 228.3, losing out a little bit in bus stop, but is now leading out all the classes. Next up, David Ross going to come through, 0.1 up, and unfortunately not moving up on his personal best. Platt still pushing by 0.2 on his time, but we are also releasing our diamond division out onto the circuit to get their qualifying. And at that moment, let's talk about it. Christoph Peterson leads out the field in the championship on 34 points. Ernest Lindbergs currently sits on 33. Rafa Sosa on 32. Jason Beam on 24. With Ben Hicks, who came out the box with a fighting mood with 18 points on the cards, lying in that top 5. The drivers are going to be working out what can they do. It's a little bit of a smaller field for our Diamond division, and Lindberg's hoping to make a big run here tonight and try and replicate his victory last week. And so there is going to be an interesting run. For those that are just joining us, a massive welcome to you all here at ERA. And you might be seeing, why is this qualifying so many in the pits? Why are we seeing different borders? Well, we've got 30 minutes to go and set qualifying. The first 10 minutes is open for all gold drivers. So gold class drivers go out for 10 minutes. They do their laps, they park it, they wait. The second of that 30 minutes, so when it hits 420, it's going to be for our platinum division to go out, and then our last 10 minutes is for our diamond division. So it gives all the classes their own chance to set a lap time with their respective drivers in the same class. In other words, you're not going to get muddled up as a diamond driver getting caught behind a gold. Likewise, you're not, as a gold driver, you're not going to have a diamond or platinum driver pushing you offline. You are on circuit with your class, making the qualifying a little bit easier to work with, and at the same time goes and allows the drivers their own little bit of breathing room. So top of the log is Sebastian Luxen with a 228.3, and he's hoping to stay at the top there. Let's see what our drivers can do. From Limburgs, Ruben Heineke, Rafa Sosa, along with Bego Krobler, Christoph Peterson, Darius a little bit further down, Sean Skitter, Ben Hicks, and Mahayath Musa rounding out the pack. And, well, just to go and point out there to Family Funderlinde, Funderlee, I do apologize if I'm getting that horribly wrong, but I hope I answered your question, and welcome to the virtual grandstands. Glad to see you there. I can see you wearing that absolutely awesome yellow rain jacket out on the grandstands by the start finish line. It's always beautiful to see everyone coming in and enjoying to support the drivers out on circuit. I know that Henry Platt's climbed out of his car. He's absolutely soaked. I'm looking down from the commentary box now, and I can see him just trying to warm up in front of the heater. It's cold out there with the rain, and the drivers are having to really consider what they're going to have to do for the pit stop. So, our drivers hoping to really see what they can do. And the track will be more wet for drivers that qualify in the last 10 minutes. It'll be a little bit more wet, but once again, makes it more challenging. Remember, the Diamond drivers are essentially the pros. They're the fastest of the fast in the world. We got drivers from Brazil. We got drivers from Germany, UK, South Africa. Nearly every continent is represented here at ERA, just in Server 1, not even counting Server 2 that's running at the same time. So if you are part of the best in the world, you're going to have to cope with the worst of the worst conditions. And you've still got quite a few cars going and opening up a little bit of a run. Ben Hicks, who's up in towards the top, puts a 227.5 on his outlap and is back in the ERA Highway Patrol colors this time round. We saw him with no livery for the last race. He's back in, and he's got those lights on the top of the roof. Do want to point out, he did say last week he was going to be in the safety car colors. Well, looks like he's decided he's calling the police, he's calling for backup, and he's going to make it work. Rafa out in third place as Christoph Peterson, our multiple champion, now crosses the line in second place with a 227.6. Ernest Limburgs comes across the time with a 227.4 up towards the top, and 0.06 600th of a second separates first and second place at the moment. Darius into fifth place, pushing Sebastian Luxon a little bit down. Chris Heineke still sits into that top 10 as a gold driver, hoping to make it work out in his favor. Mahath Musa going and falling down, and Sean Skitter goes and rounds out that top 10 at the moment. 3 minutes and 57 seconds remain of our qualifying here at Spa-Francorchamps in the rain at ERA. And it's all about technical circuits. Each race has their own little bit of fun. From having high temperatures, to ice cold, to rain, to extremely dry, every race is all about teaching a new skill here at ERA. So not only are you racing and competing against some of the best in the world, but you at the same time learning some fundamentals that can move you quicker. And our final race at the end of the season, round 7, is randomly generated. It's randomly fun, and you might have rain, shine, dusk, dawn, anything that comes out. So you best remember what you had from round 1 all the way through to test your skills. Mahath Musa, 0.6 up on his time. Ruben Heineke still yet to get a time on the board. So is Bego Krobler needing to get a time on the board with Team Wolf. And he's hoping to really move forward. Limburgs looking for another victory. Will hope to go a little bit quicker at the moment, as Ben Hicks currently stands fastest as he's out of Liscombe, heading down to Eau Rouge and hoping to keep that all the way through. Peterson holds on to the second row with Rafa down in fourth. Mahath Musa, 0.4 up on his time, trying to move into the top 10. Skitter down into 11th position at the moment as Bego Krobler goes and knocks him down a peg at the moment. And the difference between them is next to nothing. Bego with a 228.835. Sean Skitter with a 228.840. That was the separation between them, and it's absolutely on the nose of how close these drivers can race with one another. The question is, can they push that a little bit harder as Sean Skitter through the bus stop, hoping to get this Honda up to the top, getting in front of Beggar Cobbler, getting into that top 5, starting as far up through the order, and he's into 7th at the moment, sitting in between Sebastian Luxon and Martin Spritzer. Beggar Cobbler trying to improve his time. Mahath Musa, last of our diamond drivers that's got a time on the board, will be also on a hard push. Ruin Heineke, however, so far, 2 out of 2 laps, yet to get a time on the board. He's at the bottom of the ladder at the moment and will have to fight through a lot of our incredible drivers from gold, platinum, and diamond to be able to get himself back up to the top. And we got a little bit of support coming in because I can hear the howling of the wolves out on the grandstand. Jared McComb going and saying good luck to Team Wills, and I know that his son was racing earlier, last week, had a good run, and will be looking to support the team captain of Beggar Cobbler to go and represent Team Wills. Ben Hicks, however, looking to put himself at the top of the log yet again. Currently 0.1 quickest. Can he carry the momentum out of bus stop? It's going to be a good one. He's carrying that momentum through and does improve his time. A 2:27.4. Just couldn't quite get the traction out. Close to Ernest Lindbergh's. However, just couldn't get that rear to bite a little bit harder to get him through to the top of the rung with only 2 seconds left of qualifying. If you haven't crossed the line now, you are out of it. And Peterson, for the second time in a row, will be starting on the second row next to Rafa. Jason Beam not on the grid tonight, so he doesn't have to worry about that Aston Martin getting around him. Lindbergh's currently top of the log, hoping to get away from Ben Hicks, who looks to move his way forward. And Ben Hicks not going to be backing down on this one. Sorry, it wasn't Lindbergh's that actually got the victory at Suzuka. It was Ben Hicks, and that was towards the last 2 minutes of the race, where Ernest Lindbergh's unfortunately had a little bit of contact with the back marker that cost him the win. He's now coming in back with a fight, but I do think between himself and Ben Hicks, it's going to be a close one as we keep an eye on Sean Skitter, 0.2 up, and he's able to move up into 6th position, but not able to move forward. So we're here at Spa-Francorchamps. Qualifying is over, and a circuit opened in 1921, 102 years old here in the world. It was 25 kilometers long. It was 30 kilometers long. It ran through the streets of Belgium, and it was compressed towards the later stages to what we know now, the legendary Spa-Francorchamps, and is round 4 of our championship. We got to see qualifying, but what are the drivers going to do to handle the 20 corners and the 7 kilometer circuit with 1 mandatory pit stop and a lot of rain during this hour race? All 3 classes are now going to be racing, so it's hats off. It's going to be a great one, and let's see how our drivers are going to stand at the top. But if you're just joining us for the first time, a massive welcome to you all, and not to catch you off guard, here in ERA, we don't like to see people running off into the distance, so we have a little bit of an interesting run for our drivers because we put in success penalties. That counts as a BOP of sorts, and let's walk you through them as we head down to the track. So our success penalties are being implemented. If you came first in the last round, you get 15 seconds mandatory that you have to serve on your pit stop, and that helps bring the field a little bit closer. Second place gets 10 seconds, third place gets 5. Each of the classes, top 3 get exactly that. First with a 15, second with a 10, and third with a 5-second penalty they need to serve in the pit box. That brings the field a bit closer, but it also challenges the drivers to think out the box how they're going to do their pit stop, when they're going to do it, how much clearance do they need to stay at the sharp end of the field, and at the same time can be a make or break. We have seen some challenging times for every single one of our drivers to ensure they keep going, and this has always been a fun one. And also, just to remind drivers, fastest lap time in each class means that you get 1 point, and the fastest lap time in the race gives you that single point. So if you're out of the running for the top 3, you can still score points, not only by finishing, but by also having the fastest lap time. That goes and inspires drivers to keep pushing a little bit harder, to go that little bit more. And when they see the green, they got to see the checkered, because not only you score points for position, but possibly to take away that fastest lap and score 1 point from that. And it doesn't matter if you're in the top 5 of your class, anyone. You could be at the back of your class, you could be at the back of the entirety of the field, but scoring that single point can make or break your championship, because currently first and second in all 3 classes is separated by a single point, and we have seen the cars go and deal with it. In terms of our racing, we're not expecting any safety cars. There won't be safety cars coming out, unfortunately, but that being said, well, we're going to still see a little bit of thrills and spills as the drivers are going to have to deal with the wet conditions. They got 1 mandatory pit stop to serve in this hour race, so that is going to go and flip the script on the racing, and we've seen a couple of drive-throughs go and take the drivers by storm at Suzuka. So it's absolutely wonderful to have you guys here. This is out on the set of Corsa Competizione. This is server 1, but we do have a server 2, which is our more amateur division. So if you're getting into the sport, you're wanting to come out and have some fun, you can enter at ERA. Descriptions in the bottom. Go and join up on our Discord. Go and sign up for the championship. It is absolutely amazing. And both broadcasts for server 1 and server 2 go out to our drivers as well, because we want to go and see the racing. That being said, let's take a look at our starting grid for the ERA Sunday Championship round 4, and it is going to be a great one, as it is going to be Ernst Lindbergh, followed by Ben Hicks, Christoph Peterson, Rafa Souza down in 4th, Darius, along with Sean Skitter, looking to move his way forward. Sebastian Lucasen, followed by Monspritzer, Chris Heineke, David Roth, Begor Frobler, Henry Platt, Miles Musser, Chris Wall, Ulrich Diaga, Bron Cox will be starting from pit lane. Isam Domingo down in a 16th position. We'll have Nick Lawrence along with Finn Holland, Nicholas Boris, David Young, Patrick Bells, along with Rich Van Heerde, Paul Fenter, Flo Scup, Benjamin Till a little bit further down in 25th position. That Dr. Bean is Benjamin Till going and having some fun. Federico Calgera, Daniel Mutzma, Ruan Heineke, Andres Rodio, Lewis Knight, Ricky Buckler, along with Darren Christie and Paulus Scaleris going and rounding out our field here tonight, looking to see what they can do. So it is going to be a fun race indeed. Drivers are going to have to really think out of the box here at Spa and see where exactly can they make up the time around a very wet Spa. And to also throw it out, they qualified on the Friday in some time. They're racing on the Saturday, which means it had an entire day to fill the circuit up and make sure that you got those water wings on to keep going. An interesting call from Bron Cox, who will be starting from pit lane, and I think it's possibly for not getting onto the grid fast enough. So Bron is going to be at the back of the field and having to pull his way through to the top, and hoping that he can go and march his way from 34th position all the way back into the top 20. So there is one driver that has got a lot on the mind. Ernst Lindbergh's, after having victory snatched from him at Suzuka, is now looking to make it work out in his favor. Right behind him is his teammate, Christoph Peterson, the Fear the Bones driver, Mercedes, a multiple champion that has gone and fought out. Both Ernest Lindbergs and Ben Hicks were a single point separation from breaking a 9 championship streak on Christoph Peterson. The entire first row is 2 drivers that have got every reason to make Christoph go and fall off the circuit and fall down through the field. However, the newcomer to the ERA grid, Rafa Souza, don't count this Nissan out, will be hunting him down to make up time. He wants to prove himself and has done it. Watkins Glen was a very good show of it, where both himself and Jason Beam went and moved their way to the top and even got the entire Diamond Division worried. Chris Heineke got a lot of breathing room to his own teammate, Ulrich Diaga, in the same class, but don't count out Sebastian Lukes and Mont Spritzer, who have got a little bit of beef with one another, to go and see who can stand at the top. So it's a round bus stop. The start-finish line will not be here, but it will be around this curve, staring down towards likes of Eau Rouge, and hoping they can get it all the way through to the top. This is going to be a tough time out there, and our drivers know what's on the line. Got to be cautious, got to be clever, got to think about what you got to do, but brakes are cold, tires are cold, nerves on end, and you've got a very, very difficult corner that can land up in tears. Who is going to be able to make it work? Who's going to be brave as our drivers get ready to go? We're going to keep an eye as the field get ready to go. Slowing it down, 70 kilometers an hour. Ernest Lindbergs guides the pack as they steer towards the start-finish line, waiting for the green. Jim on the button, holding, and away we go, racing for round 4. Brom Cox, who's waiting in pit lane, sees the field come through as they slide beautifully in between one another. Chris Heineke going and having a little bit of help from Bego Krobler, loses out to Henry Platt, but it looks like a beautiful start from the entirety of the field. 53 cars made it through Eau Rouge without a single incident. Oh, Ben X goes and runs it out a bit wide. He tries to fight back. Christopher on the outside goes and slots in. The two of them nose to tail at the moment. Bumper to bumper, and Rafa immediately claws onto the back, trying to see where he can go. Darius chasing him down. Rafa runs in a little bit deep, and Darius puts his nose in. Sebastian Lucasen going and losing out a little bit of momentum to Mont Spritzer. Tries to hold the inside line a little bit further back in the Platinum field, with David Roth keeping a nice toe in between. We'll look to go around the outside of Sebastian Lucasen, in through P1, runs out wide with Mont Spritzer, who falls down, and Henry Platt now next to come through. Bego Krobler keeping in tow, does not want to get caught up. He wants to just try and take his time at the moment, and drivers having a really, really good race. Only little touches between them, and we've got 7 little touches. Not a single car has landed into the weeds of the start of Spa-Francorchamps here in the wet conditions, which just tells you the level of talent out there that is racing at this point. Sean Skitter catching up to Rafa at the Mosen. Sebastian Lucasen holds on to first place of the Platinum. Chris Heineke holds on to first of the Gold, as Nico Lawrence up into second place of the Gold. Henry Platt up to second place of the Platinum, and it is Ben Hicks managing to hold on for now at the top of the log as they come across the line from a rolling start at 2:59, expected to get faster and faster, and the pit stops to be towards the end. Andre Sorodio and Ricky unfortunately having a little bit of contact with one another. The 15 and the 398 not having an easy time out there. And let's quickly take a look at what happened. So Ricky was ahead of Andre Sorodio, who looked left, who looked right, got into the bumper, trying to see where he can go. Heading into Blanchemont, looked towards the inside, and saw the likes of Ruin Heineke getting it done. Ooh, a little bit of argy-bargy between the two, but both able to save it and keep their foot in it. So some great racing off the bat. A little bit of elbow rubbing all the way through. Limburg's now 1.6 seconds up the road from Hicks and Peterson, who are going to be brawling it out between one another. Chris Wall moving up a position as well, getting ahead of Nico Lawrence and Mahath Musa. But Mahath looking to fire back in that BMW, looks for the inside, sends it through, could not get it done. Wall closes the door firmly on him, and a little bit of a argy-bargy moment there. Finn Van Hollen, Nicholas, and Paul Fenter running in tow, the two Porsches. Not having a problem, but it is Paul Fenter who's got that understeer, and coming back down through the field has Daniel Mutsuma coming down the inside. Paul goes back to defend, loses out the momentum, understeers. Daniel goes underneath him. Paul nearly into the side of Flo Scub. Could not go and see that Flo was keeping right on the back of that McLaren and utilizing him as a wrecking ball, and a very, very smart move indeed. Ricky behind his teammate Ruin Heineke, looking to get pulled along. Paul Scaleras trying to move his way forward, as it looks like Brom Cox is out of this race and due to a problem. So unfortunately, Brom Cox going to be sitting this one out and watching from the sidelines. The team battling to get that car going. So now he's just keeping an eye. David Roth on the back of Vego Kroblos, looking to try and get towards Sean Skitter further up the road. Luxon, Platt, and Spritzer currently hold on to first, second, and third of the Platinum Division, are separating him and the rest of the field. But it is Limburgs once again with the fastest lap time of the race and pushing a 2:27 coming from him. Roth trying to close up the distance as well. Daniel Mutsuma loses out of position to Flo Scub through bus stop, and now looks to try and fire back towards Liscombe. Late on the brakes is going to be the next opportune moment. Unfortunately, not able to get it done, but a big send from Andre Sorodio on Richard van Heerden, who looks for the cutback. Richard going, dives for the inside line and clears on by. The Project Vapor drivers having a good go, but Richard leans on Andre Sorodio, who's lost to the late breakers. Sorodio clears on by. Richard into the toe, sees Sorodio going a little bit off circuit and is watching, waiting, biding his time to see where it goes. Lewis Knight further down, keeping an eye as Benjamin Till, new to the grid, trying to close up the distance. Paul Scaleras, a little bit further back, is just keeping a close eye on these two as Benjamin Till looks for the inside. Lewis Knight couldn't get it done, late on the brakes, and now Paulus getting right back into the fray, wants to try and close the distance. Ruin Heineke into the pits for his pit stop. A very, very interesting time to get into the box, hoping that it works out in his favor. Out in the front, 1.5 seconds ahead of Ben Hicks at the moment as they keep going. Limburgs continues on the charge. Finn Van Hollen and Nicholas, two drivers that have fought it out and have been rivals, not just for one season, but for three thus far, still rubbing shoulders with one another. Try to see where it works out, and we are seeing yellow flags coming out for the 29 car, and that is Flo Scub, who landed up with a bit of a problem. What on earth happened to him? So it's breaking down into Puan. He does run out of it wide. Daniel Mutsuma sees him, but Flo gets it all out of shape, clips Mutsuma on the rear, and it's Paul Fenter. Oh, and a 315 getting knocked as well, and that's David Young that got clipped. Unfortunately, nothing could be done as Flo was a passenger at that point, and just the minor of touches is like riding on ice skates with a very, 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 very difficult time out on the circuit. It is ice out there. You're on ice skates. A little touch means that you can land up in a world of hurt in a matter of seconds. We've seen that already as Issam Domingo runs into a problem. He battles to slow the car down, throws it into the wall, and it looks like his throttle may have got stuck. Bego Krobler having a bit of a problem. Martin Spritzer as well, landing up with an issue. And what on earth happened there? That was a very, very, very strange incident coming from Isam Domingo, that he was going down the inside, 4th gear, 3rd gear, can't go up a gear, hits the wall, no control. He tried to just slide the car around to slow it through, but nothing through the gears, no attempt on the brake, and mechanical failure for him that unfortunately got him caught out. As you see, Martin Spritzer and Richard Finierda, all contact between the two, as Richard tried to turn back towards Martin Spritzer, but Martin just kept his nose in, a little bit of understeer, clipped the two, and Richard now a little bit further back has to keep an idea of what's happening. Federico Calgaro into the wall as well. The number 50 runs into a problem. But we did see an incident further up the road into Les Coombe, and that's Bego Krobler and David Roth. Ooh, a little bit of contact between Roth and Bego Krobler. This is into Les Coombe. Martin Spritzer close by. Roth to the left-hand side of Bego Krobler. He goes down the inside. He clips into the back of Spritzer. Roth gets bottled up behind. Ooh, and then it just goes and turns into a nightmare situation from there. And we are getting reports, unfortunately, with Chris Wall and Mahith Musa having contact between the two of them. Now we're starting to see the mistakes coming in, as Chris Wall running out a little bit wider, clipping the puddle, sees Roth up the road from him, looks to try and get around the outside, late on the brakes. Oh, getting a little bit fouled up behind Roth with a little bit of an argy-bargy moment there, but not too bad to throw everyone too far back. Daniel Mutsma now under pressure from Paul Fenter as we get the 398 driver Ricky Buckler back out on circuit. So he's completed his pit stop with Ruan Heineke. One retirement out of the race from the start of the race, other than Bram Cox, who was not able to start the race. It is Isam Domingo running into mechanical problems with his car. Oh, contact with Ulrich de Jager, and he goes straight into the door of Nicholas, who has to now back up and get going. So Nicholas not going to be too keen on that one. De Jager going and lifting off a little bit, allowing cars to come through, is just biding his time, seeing if he can try and make up a little bit of room. We'll have Mon Spritzer gaining a lot of time through the likes of Eau Rouge, and Martin having to take evasive maneuvers to just see it work through. Ulrich de Jager, once again, a little lift. He's trying to wait up for Nicholas just a little bit there, but Lewis Knight coming back at him, and it's going to be Rich Van Eert up on the inside, clearing Lewis Knight, and now further up through the field. So an interesting call for the Griffin Sim Racing team to get both cars in and get both cars out of Backler and Heineke. We also see Calgaro into the pits after his massive shunt, trying to get the pit stop done and some major repair work to the sharp end of his nose. So drivers going and having a rough time off the bat, and now trying to see where exactly it can go. Limburgs, Hicks, and Peterson still hold on to the top three of our diamond and overall at the moment, trying to see where it all works out for them and where can they make up that little bit of time during the course of this race. It is Sebastian Lucasen who leads out the platinum, with Henry Platt 1.5 seconds behind, and David Roth holding on to the top 10 and third in class. Nico Lawrence holds on to first for the gold, with Chris Heineke in second, and Finn Holland is separated with Mahith Musa in between them, holds on to third place as it stands. But we are starting to see drivers getting quicker and quicker. Peterson utilizing Ben Hicks a little bit more, gets the fastest lap time of the race at 2:27.012 on that last run, but had a lot of slipstream help from Ben Hicks at the moment. Behind him, Darius and Rafa starting to deal with one another. And now trying to see where exactly can they make time. Ben Hicks keeping a very, very good run up through Eau Rouge, but it's Christoph Peterson who carried a lot of momentum through and is in the slipstream. Can he get it done? Heading towards a right-hander, gonna go for the inside, possibly. No, waits it out. Instead of going on the attack, he's going to help push Ben Hicks a little bit closer to his own teammate and see if he can close the distance between them. Rafa hoping to move forward as we get yellow flags come in for Paul Fenter, having a rough time out there. Calgera leaving pit lane. Martin Spritzer and Patrick Bills comes out of the pits, and that's Paul Fenter going out wide, lands into the weeds and not having a good time out there. Patrick's going to go for the inside line now, sees that there's an opportunity. Paul Fenter going and reading messages on his phone, going and losing out a bit of time, and Patrick looking to capitalize on it at the moment. Benjamin Till getting past Nicholas down the inside. Nicholas coming back at him and going and just runs him out a bit wide to the fringe of the circuit. That fouled up the likes of Till to allow Paulus down the inside to get it done and dusted. Calgero just watching this fight and is just concentrating on going. Bruin Heineke currently is first of those that have done the pit stop. He's in 30th position at the moment. Paulus losing out the time to Benjamin Till. Now sits in wait. Looks towards the inside through Pouan. Had to take his foot off the throttle there, not wanting to go and run into critical error. Chris Heineke down behind Nico Lawrence now looks to try and move forward. Has got Mahath Musa, a diamond driver, on the back of him, and will be thinking, do I fight Mahath Musa or do I keep pushing? Because Nico Lawrence is just ahead of me. Are we going to use the wrecking ball method here, or am I going to be the wrecking ball? Limburgs takes back the fastest lap of the race away from Christoph. Heineke off at Blanchemont, now losing out the time. Musa looked towards the inside, backed out of it, waiting to go and see where he makes up a bit of time. Mahath Musa also this is, if I remember correctly, is a part-time commentator for LMU. I'm to be corrected by the Project Vapor team on that one. Hopefully Isam Domingo, who's also a part-time commentator, can let me know on that one. The two of them trying their hand at the microphone and doubling up behind the steering wheel, going and getting their practice in. So it's a bit of a fun situation for the drivers. Ulrich Diaga and Patrick going and having a good run. Rich Veneer has got Lewis Knight onto the back of him. They all fighting for class position. So it is gloves off racing between them at the moment to see how it's going to go. With 44 minutes remaining in this race, there is still plenty of time to move up through the order and concentrate on what you need to do to stay the head of your pack and see what's going to work. There's no point of taking unnecessary risks right now in this race, but there is a point to keep it on track. Lewis Knight, beautiful entrance and exit, now trying to see where he can go. Richard snaps back across his nose and tries to keep that 296 in check at the moment. Lewis Knight just plays a bit of a cautious approach, seeing Richard at the moment starting to watch those mirrors left, right and center. He knows, just hang in the mirrors, wait for an opportunity. The driver will make a mistake. All that you need to do is keep an eye forward. Floescup up into 24th position at the moment and is just watching these drivers fight it out. He's looking to make up some time. Sorodia loses out to Spritzer, who moves up into the top 5 of his class. And now Sorodio has to go back onto the attack. Musa chasing down Heineke further up the road. Musa wanting to clear Heineke as quick as he can. The two of the drivers know each other oh so well. Nico Lawrence knows that these two are fighting out and is going to utilize his veteran knowledge here in ERA Sunday Championship to just keep pushing forward. Runs out wide, however, through Blanchemont, and that will be a track limit warning coming into play, and the drivers have got to be aware of that because we haven't touched onto it as yet. But as we see Chris Heineke diving into the pits to get his pit stop done, which will make yet another Griffin Sim Racing driver getting his pit stop out of the way early on into this race and trying out something rather different. But going back to it, our stewards will give you 3 warnings, 3 slaps on the wrist, saying don't do that again. But when it comes to the 4th time, it will be a drive-through penalty. So if you manage to cut the course 4 times in the race, it's a drive-through penalty. If you speed into the pits, or if you're speeding out the pits, in other words, you coming off that pit limiter on the button too early or engaging second gear, it shuts down that pit limiter and you will score a 30-second stop hold penalty. Last thing you want to have at the moment. Heineke, who's getting his 10-second success penalty out of the way as well, will be looking to get a great stop and not to run into any issues. But let's take a look at our front as Christoph Peterson still following in tow with Ben Hicks, not fighting out for position as yet, biding his time, waiting, seeing where there's an opportunity. Rich Van Eed and Lewis Knight having a little bit of door-to-door contact. That's allowed Flo Scup to get into it, and Flo, having to take evasive maneuvers under braking. Lewis, a beautiful slide that even Tokyo Drift will be rather impressed. Hunt says well done on that one. Was able just to keep the rear in check and loses out the momentum to Rich Van Eed, but still kept the car pointing forward to continue on his run. So Lewis Knight not going to be too happy with the minor contact that happened between himself and Flo Scup. However, it was just enough to unsettle that Nissan, but only by the minor of touches. Now Flo is going to be looking to clear on through. He does get past Lewis Knight, who's going to use him like a wrecking ball to close the distance. Heineke leaving the pits is ahead of Ruan Heineke. So it is Chris beating out the family member at the moment. Never mind, it's a drag race between the two. And Ruan Heineke says to Chris, hey, listen, I'm not going to hang around. I'm ahead of you now. Follow me through. The Griffin Sim Racing team. Oh, big mistake from Chris Heineke. He just saves it. And now trying to get himself going after a big moment during that slide. We do have yet another retirement coming in from the Griffin Sim Racing team, and it is Ricky Beckler, who is out of the running yet again. Ricky getting a DNF here, and unknown reasons why. As we do see Patrick getting out of shape on the inside, it's going to be Paul Fenter sweeping across. Will get the drive through Les Cubes. Patrick down a little bit further, but he's in a different class race at the moment and has to be rather cautious of Ulrich de Jager on the back of him. And de Jager will want to clear on through and get ahead of Patrick to retake 3rd place in the running here. So Ulrich de Jager needs to try and get back into 3rd in his class. The only way he's going to do it is late on the brakes. In through the corners, Daniel Mutsuma and the likes of Martin Spritzer, elbow to elbow between the two, but Martin coming up better of them. Andre Sorodio hangs into the back, seeing where's his opportunity to try and clear both drivers in the Audi R8. However, he's going to have a tough time out there as they're racing for class position, and Martin Spritzer wants to try and open up that gap. Remember, he's still got 15 seconds mandatory he's going to have to serve in the pit stop to try and get that success penalty out of the way for winning the last round. He got 15 second success penalty, which means he needs to open 15 seconds on the way through. Let's talk about what the pit stops are during the course of this, because Ruan Heineke, odd move from him, did not put on a fresh set of boots. He's spent 27.5 seconds stopped in the box and is continuing to go on. He's up to 29th position. But a run through pit lane is 75.2 seconds. That is well over a minute that you are in the pits. And that means that anytime you are working with times of a success penalty, 10, 15, 5, you're going to have to take that into consideration, that is going to cost you and have to move forward. Daniel Mutzma up on the inside. Oz Rodeo, both leaning on each other quite a bit there. And the driver all the way out from Japan, taking on the South African at the moment, going and pushing one another to the limit to see who is going to be first on the Anchors. Rodeo, though, late on the brakes, misses the apex. Daniel goes for it, but it is going to be who's first on the drive. Ulrich Diaga into the pit lane. Yet another Griffin Sim Racing driver taking the opportunity to get into the box and get themselves sorted out. The team going and communicating to try and get the pit stops out of the way early on and focus on the drive. And has been one of the only teams to do that with all their drivers thus far. Ricky, Ulrich, Ruan, Chris Heineke, all doing that. Federico Calgero was due to damage to the car, and I do want to highlight the driver as well, the Cyber Racing driver of, like I said, Federico Calgero. Despite the impact and damage to his car, going and being so low in the rungs, he is still going and determined to keep moving forward. And all I can say to that one is go, Calgero, go. Love to see it. Love to see the no quit. Once you see the green, you've got to see the checkered. And that's exactly what Calgero is going to be doing right the way through. And it's wonderful, wonderful to see. David Young onto the back of Darren Chrissy at the moment, trying to see where they can get on by. Darren going to make it a little bit harder for David Young to go through. Both coming in from England, out there in the UK, and seeing what they can do with one another. However, Darren is going to try and push that a little bit harder to keep ahead of Young, both in their own class, and will be fighting out for class and on-track position. Interesting call. Christoph Peterson into the pits, now trying to get his pit stop done and dusted. He is one of the top 5 that is doing it, and let's see how that's going to take, because Limburg's Hicks, Darius, Rafa, Sean Skitter are continuing on. Luxon and Platt continue on their charge to move forward. So it's a late call. Platt late on the anchors, misses out his braking marker and nearly into the back of Luxon, loses out that time. But Peterson from the top 3 deciding to get into the box, will serve his mandatory 5 seconds, but is he going to be changing tires as well? Maith Musa up on the inside of Nico Lawrence, clearing on by. Lawrence, who is leading the gold division, going and seeing that Christoph is in the pits, will be taking note of that. Maith Musa as well will all be looking, because that is an earlier call than most of the strategy that we've seen out of Christoph Peterson from his racing across the different leagues, across the different parts of the planet. And let's see how it's going to work out. David Young doing exactly the same. Saw the opportunity, dives into the pits. So an interesting call had by Peterson, Young, Chris Heineke, Ruan Heineke, Ulrich Diaga, all getting that same get it in the box and get it done to continue on the race. Try and open up a little bit of breathing room between them. Lewis Knight looks for the inside on Flo Scub at the moment. Couldn't quite get past the Los Pantos Hermanos. The Good Smile Racing now just biding his time, seeing where he can close the distance to the likes of Richard Van Eed and Patrick, who he can see within eyesight. He can see them right there ahead of him. So Flo Scub just ahead in that yellow Porsche, but you can just make out the Ferrari and BMW of both Patrick and Richard, who are currently holding on to 3rd and 4th in the gold division and still pushing harder and harder at this point and are in a fight with one another. So if Flo can pull them a bit closer, it's going to help out. However, Lewis Knight cannot lose any time, as he's got Nicholas on the back of him and will be trying to see where he can go. Rich Van Eed trying to push a little bit more, has got Patrick going and closing up the distance. Young into the pits, waiting to get released. 31 cars remain in this race, as all trying to figure out what is going to be the strategy here. And Rich Van Eed and Patrick still push on. Sebastian Luxon into the pits. Vego Krobler into the pits. Pat up into 6th. So he's making the call to run that a little bit longer, go beyond the halfway mark in for his run. Bagel, Krobler, Chris Wall, Nico Lawrence all into the pits. Are they going to come out in front of Christoph Peterson, or are they going to be in the fight as well? But this is going to be starting to ring alarm bells towards the sharp end of the field. Limburgs, Hicks, Darius, Rafa, all having that. Patrick into the pits as well, and Lewis Knight following suit to try and get rid of any overcut or any undercuts that may come through as well. So drivers starting to suss out the opportunity to get that climb up through the order. Paul Fenzer comes barreling past, sees that he has an opportunity to move forward. He hasn't got a time penalty like Martin Spritzer has got, who's got 15 seconds he's going to have to spend in the box. Richard side by side with Flo Skip as Flo tried his luck through Eau Rouge, and that allowed Nicholas to get a little bit closer into the fight. Nicholas going to go around the outside. Flo's going to go center circuit to defend his line, and Flo in the platinum, backing off a little bit, allows Nicholas through and says, right, pull me along. You want to fight? I'm going to let you two fight, but I need to get a little bit further up the road, so you best not hold me back right now. So Nicholas getting pushed in towards Rich Van Heed, harder and harder at the moment, to see if it's going to work out in his favor. Christoph Peterson coming up Eau Rouge, now in 18th position, is ahead of the pack and will be smiling on his earlier pit stop as he currently leads out of those that have done their pit stop. Sebastian Lucasen coming out of pit lane, a bit of a tank slapper as he exits the pits, will be moving forward. Bagger Krobler, Chris Wall as well, as we do see Nico Lawrence starting to move forward. Patrick, Lewis Knight, Paulus and Martin still yet to try and get themselves out of that very, very long pit lane. Nico Lawrence going and moving forward as well. So a couple of drivers seeing where they go. Limburg's coming out of the pits. So is likes of Darius coming out of the pits as well. So those two drivers into the pits, getting themselves sorted, leaves Ben Hicks to take over the lead of the race. Rafa up into second. Sean Skitter up into third. Platt into fourth place, with David Roth challenging him at the moment to try and get a little bit further up the road. And Henry Platt will be keeping note that David Roth is still out there, still pushing 9 seconds back from him. Mahath Musa stays out on circuit. Limburgs is yet to get himself all organized and out of the pits. Paul Fenter will be keeping an eye on Darius and Limburgs at the moment, seeing if he can possibly gain a position over both drivers. He does, who are waiting in pit lane for the crew to work on those cars. Nicholas carries on his drive. Will Darren Christie do the same? Yes, Darren is. Finn Fanal and Daniel Mutsuma, Sorodio, all into the pits as well. Benjamin Till into the pits as well. And that is going to be an interesting call for every single one of our drivers, as there's only our top 9 that are yet to do their pit stop. Our top 9 are yet to get their mandatory pit stop done and dusted during the course of this race. Ben Hicks, Rafa, Skitter, Platt, Roth, Musa, Fenter, Paris and Christie are yet to get their pit stops done, and it is an interesting call. Platt leads out the Platinum division with Roth in second and Paul Fenter in third. Nicholas and Christie, the only 2 remaining gold drivers, are yet to get their stops done and dusted. Ben Hicks, Rafa, and likes of Sean Skitter are yet to get their stops, and they're leading out the diamonds. So only 2 of the golds, 3 of the platinums, and 3 of the diamonds. They're doing it, and well, call me a liar, because Rafa decides he's going to get into the pits and get his pit stop out of the way. Skitter's going to continue to go on. Platt dives into pit lane and hoping to get ahead of Sebastian Lucasen at the moment. Sebastian trying to make his way through, is just heading in to No Name Corner and will be aiming towards Puan. He is a bit further back from Henry Platt at the moment, and is possibly an opportunity for Platt to get out. But it depends on Paul Fenter, who comes through bus stop. He dives into pit lane. So Paul Fenter going and also taking the opportunity to get into the pits and get his stop done and dusted. Nicholas into the pits. Will Darren be the next one to dive into pit lane as he aims for the right-hand side? Both Nicholas and Christie into the pits, hoping to get out ahead of Finn van Hollen, which only leaves the likes of Ben Hicks, Skutter, and Musa out on circuit to do their final stops and get themselves sorted out. And this is always a rough situation, as it's our 3 diamonds that are pushing to make up time. Well, they got to keep it well enough in mind. Ben Hicks is the only driver that still has to serve that success penalty of 15 seconds, and he's keeping a very close eye on the rest of the field because Christoph Peterson has done his stop. He's into the top 10 at the moment, possibly getting up into 4th, depending if he can get past Rafa before he exits pit lane. Well, Rafa is out of the pits, coming up the hill, and that means it's a bit of an issue coming in for the likes of Peterson. So what a drive on that part, but we do see a bit of problems. Ulrich de Jager and Benjamin Till both broken properly at this point. So what on earth happened to both Benjamin Till? Oh, and it was contact between the two, and both having severe damage to their cars. We're going to try and go back to that. The 337 was the damage. So Benjamin Till keeping it all together at the moment. Ulrich de Jager's further up the road. Did Ulrich lose control of the car and come back towards the circuit? Yes, he did. Oh, Ulrich de Jager was on the right-hand side, spun, came back towards the left-hand side. Benjamin Till rounded the blind corner and unfortunately got an absolute hit to the nose, and now is just limping the car around. Will Ulrich de Jager back into the pits with a very, very, very broken BMW that's needing some repair work before he can get going. Ruben Heineke all over the back of Andres Rodio is one of our closest fights out on circuit, and it is going to be Heineke to push it a little bit harder. So Platt, Luxon, and Roth lead out our Platinums. Christoph Peterson, unfortunately, couldn't quite get out ahead of Rafa, but is second of those that have done their pit stops in the Diamond Division. But it is Ben Hicks, Skutter, and Musa that hold the top 3 for their class and overall. Finn van Hollen, Nico Lawrence, and Chris Heineke, who is right behind these fighting duo, hold on to the top 3 of our Gold Division with 24 minutes remaining. And this is going to be a tough time for every single one of them. And I've got to say, Ben Hicks, who's part of the ERA Highway Patrol, and the reason the Highway Patrol came out, and they came out in force last season, was because they had a convict on the loose. They had a driver that was untouched and had to make sure, it wasn't last season, it was the season before, where they had to catch a elusive championship and lost out by a single point to Christoph Peterson. So Ben Hicks is now looking to try and make up some time on that and will be needing to pit with his 15 seconds success penalty on top of him. Martin Spritzer keeps the pressure onto the back of Rich van Heed, and Rich van Heed, who is at the moment needing to try and move forward as well. Remember, he's 4th in his class, and Martin Spritzer is lying a little bit further down in his class. Ben Hicks into the pit lane, as we do see Martin trying to go underneath Richard van Heerde at this point. But there is no reason for the drivers to move out the way of one another. It comes down to who can keep going. They're racing for overall track position, and they are in 2 different classes. So you are still pushing for on-track position. There is no easy way of getting around, and Rich van Heerde at the moment is fighting tooth and nail to hold on track, as he does have Martin goes flying past around the outside, says thank you very much, and clears round. Ruben Heineke loses out to Chris Heineke at the moment. Chris, who is trying to launch his way up to get closer to Nico Lawrence, is sitting nearly 9, going 10 seconds back to Nico Lawrence at this point. Is sitting about 7 seconds back, apologies, from Nico Lawrence to try and move up into second. Finn Van Holland currently holds that. Ben Hicks and Mahath Musa into pit lane, getting their stops done, and that is going to allow Rafa to close the distance between them. Rafa comes out, aims through Blanchemont, and will be looking towards the bus stop, seeing both Ben Hicks and Musa into the pits, but Skitter still charges on. The last Diamond driver gonna be running a little bit closer to see how it works out and where he's going to be able to make up some time here. It's a late call on his part compared to the rest of the field. Sosa sees Peterson in the mirrors and knows he needs to keep up the drive. Darius is another driver to keep an eye out for, as he is currently ahead of Limburgs by 5 seconds. Limburg still holds the fastest lap of the race with a 2:26.7 on his run, so he will be scoring an extra point, but he wants to get into that top 3 to just try and close up the distances between them. Rafa up in second, Peterson into third, Darius into fourth, Ernest Limburgs up into fifth, Ben Hicks yet to exit, and it's going to be Henry Platt coming on by. Ben Hicks now exiting pit lane, will slot himself a little bit in between Sebastian Luxon and Henry Platt, but it is going to be Luxon with a lot more drive underneath him. Will be able to clear on quickly if he can close the distance in time. Ben Hicks is going to keep his foot on the throttle, does cut back to the racing line. Lucasen had to slow down and now is caught behind Ben Hicks, but can utilize the slipstream to pull himself closer to Henry Platt. So an interesting call now comes in for Lucasen. Do you fight or do you wait to see how this all turns out with our last driver, Skitter, yet to pit? But let's take a look at who's gained, who's lost at the moment. Benjamin Till into the pit lane, getting his car sorted out. It's Ulrich de Jager who is out on circuit, who's lost out 16 places. He's the last of the remainers at the moment, is still circulating to see it through to the end. Hats off to him on that one, especially after a big bang with Benjamin Till. He's down 16 places, but is looking to make up some time. Started in 15th, he's in 31st at the moment. But those that have gained the most positions in this race is actually Andre Serodio with 15 places up the road. Serodio hoping to get a little bit closer to Chris Wall, has to clear Lawrence and Van Holland to be able to do that, but he's up 15 places with Ruben Heineke up 12 places after his very early pit stop out on the second, going into the second lap of the race. Close up, Paulus and Lewis Knight keep each other in check at the moment. Scaleris hoping to just try and keep some momentum. He knows Lewis Knight is lurking. The last thing he wants to do is lose out time. So as Flo gains that little bit of time, oh, big slide for Polaris. Oh, couldn't just save it. Stop dead. Now trying to rejoin on to Puan. Thankfully, no one around, but nearly caught that slide. But unfortunately, wasn't able to do it. He was able to bring it to a halt on the outside off the racing line, and now needs to try and work his way through. So, as our drivers continue on up through the road to see how it goes, Heineke up into 16th position. Will be keeping a very close eye on Daniel Mutsuma behind him and seeing where it all works out. But we have lost a driver from this race. We got Ruben Heineke, but where is Chris Heineke? Chris Heineke looks like he may have had a mechanical problem and is out of the race. Chris Heineke, who was on a solid charge for third place in the gold division is unfortunately disconnected and is out of the race at the moment. Here, hopefully he can get back in to score a few points. However, he is now out of the running for the top 3, and that is a gut-wrenching blow to him. And now we'll hand over third place to Richard van Heerden, who at the moment's got Nicholas Polaris on the back of him, trying to close down the distance. Paul Venter and Daniel Misano, they're going to be going and fighting it out at the moment. See where it goes. And Daniel trying to see where it all works out. And Richard, who was running in third in the gold division with a drive-through penalty, which means it's going to go to Nicholas to take over third place. And what a blow for Richard. He flew to track limits over and over again, and unfortunately, he has taken a little bit too much. And the stewards have said enough is enough. He is our drive-through penalty, and the first one for this race, and unfortunately will be off the podium. And that is just a big blow to the points. And Finn Van Hollen and Nico Lawrence, they're going to be smiling at that one. But it's going to be Nicholas, who's running in the Porsche behind. He's going to be breathing a sigh of relief, as he's got no worries to go and fight Richard. But the likes of Patrick out in the BMW now has something to chase. A podium is on the line. Darius closing up to Christoph Peterson. Looks to try and go around. Christoph, who was slow through Eau Rouge, defends around the inside. Gets a little bit of a tank slapper. Saves it. Darius over the curb, losing a little bit of time. And Christoph managing to hold on to that third place at the moment. But Darius trying to fight back. Limburg's watching both cars go and fight through. Sean Skitter into the pits. So it's Rafa will be moving up into first place. Darius and Christoph will be fighting out for second and third, with Limburg's licking his lips at the moment, waiting for their opportunity. Daniel moves across the nose of Paul Venter. Martin Spritzer sees this fight, and he wants to try and get past him as quick as he can, as Spritzer gets a good drive up the hill. Looks to try and get past Venter around the outside. Venter trying to guard the inside line. Sees that he has to go a little bit late on the brakes. Can he sink it through? And Daniel, who is breathing a sigh of relief at the moment, as Paul brings it across the nose of Martin. Martin having to back off that throttle. Paul Venter right towards the back of Daniel yet again. Now trying to spot for an opportunity. Nico and Finn Van Hollen are fighting out for first in their class position to see where it's all going to work out for them. Platt, Luxon and Roth hold on to the top 3 for the Platinum division. We have got fights everywhere, folks, and it's not done yet. 14 and a half minutes left of this race, and it's anyone's game right now. It's anyone's chance to move forward as Venter and Spritzer look to fight it out. Richard van Heerden leaves pit lane. He is heading back out onto the circuit to carry on his drive to score points. Van Hollen goes out wide and loses out to Nico Lawrence, now by a second. Lawrence has got a little bit more room to breathe and doesn't have to fight out as hard right now. He can look for an opportunity, and there's been a problem between Darius, Limburgs, and Christoph. Both of them having a bit of contact. Skitter comes out of the pits. Skitter comes out ahead of Peterson and Limburgs. He pitted late. Now he's got to guard the line. Can he do it? Holds the inside. Peterson tries to go around the outside. Skitter slots back in. But what on earth happened to the likes of Christoph Peterson? The number 1 running into a problem. And it looks like it might have been a little bit of a proper argy-bargy. So this is heading into Liscombe with Christoph ahead of Darius. And this is what brought Limburgs into play to try and close the distance. And Darius with the lightest of touches on the rear, outbraked himself. And that's contact as Christoph drove forward. Limburgs came around the blind bend, and went straight into the door. So now it's Christoph with damage to his right-hand door, while the likes of Limburgs has got damage to his nose, and Ruin Heineke gets a drive-through penalty and stops off circuit. Heineke goes and stops off circuit, gets a drive-through penalty, and looks like he may have just run into a problem with the car and is out of the running. Paul Venter gets all wobbly on the exit as he got past the likes of Daniel Mutsuma, who's now got Martin Spritzer on his back, chasing him down, looking for every opportunity to move forward at the moment. It's gonna be a rough race indeed, seeing who's going to move forward, who is gonna stay at the top every which way possible. You think this race is going to work out. You think you know what's going to happen. And it's been lap after lap after lap. Little bits of drama that has been going and hurting the drivers. So, let's see how our first, second, and third is going to work, as Sean Skitter now holds on to third place. Darius closing the distance. Limburgs is going to try and see where he can make on a little bit of time. Skitter is looking at second place, holding on to third, right behind Peterson. Can the Logistical Nightmare Racing driver keep onto the back of the Fear the Bones driver while he slotted into both teammates? Thankfully, Ernest Limburgs is out there for a fight. He's not there to just wait it out. Limburgs going and taking a little bit too much through Eau Rouge, comes off the throttle. That allows Darius to retake the spot, and Darius immediately back onto the attack. Will want to clear past Skitter and close the distance down of nearly a second between himself and the likes of Peterson. Platt in a little bit of no man's land has got Ben Hicks 4 seconds off the back of him. Then it's Sebastian Luxon, followed by Beggar, probably David Roth, who are rounding out our top 10 as it stands. Chris Wall just out of that top 3, lying in fourth of the platinum. Nico Lawrence and Finn Van Hollen running first, second of our gold division, with Nicholas Porras holding on to that bottom, that last step on the podium. Daniel closing up the distance to Paul Venter, getting a little bit out of shape through Eau Rouge and forcing Martin to go around through Eau Rouge. Loses out the time. Martin having to come off the throttle, slots in behind, sees Daniel up the road. We've got yellow flags for Benjamin Till, who has turned round at the moment, trying to get himself going, and that is right at the bottom of the circuit. He's able to move over to the left-hand side, but this is a tough time as he has the leaders come cruising past him now, and now will be rejoining a little further up the road. A beautiful, beautiful rejoin, might I add, as he just waits on the outside, lets the field come through, and gently brings it back. He's up into 29th position, still going, and still continues on the fight as Skitter runs out wide through Blanchemont. This is going to have Darius trying his luck through the bus stop. Couldn't quite get it done. Looks towards the inside. Limburg's also trying to have a shot as well with no room to go. Darius with a poor exit was a bit too tight, but boxes the likes of Limburg's into Sean Skitter and looks to try swing around the outside. He's got a good drive, but just couldn't get the exit to work out for him. Skitter holds on. He is looking in both his right and his left mirror, and that's allowed Peterson a little bit more room to breathe. Limburg's looks to try and gun it up to the top. Darius falls to the outside, side by side through Eau Rouge, with both of them making it up, with Limburg's getting a bit of a tank slapper on the way through to keep it all together, but both having a moment of note up the hill, fighting it out, and what a drive on both their parts. This is why we call them some of the best in the world. Martin Spritzer fights out against Daniel Mutsuma. Door to door they go, with Spritzer leading on Mutsuma, forces him to the fringe of the circuit and gets the drive out. Daniel now slots in behind as they head to Lacombe, and it's Paul Venter with a little bit more breathing room at the moment. Daniel nearly into the back of Martin Spritzer into this coupe. Will have to just try and bring it all back to the brink. Darius and the likes of Ernest Limburgs fight it out with Henry Platt 2.1 seconds back, and he's got to keep a very close eye on these two because they are not afraid to share paint with one another, and they also a little bit quicker than Sean Skitter up the road, which means they will get into a fight. Henry Platt now closes up the distance to Limburgs. The question is he going to challenge Limburgs, or is he going to rather wait it out for taking class position? This is where you will be this far into the championship. Round 4 out of 7. Are you willing to take the risk to keep pushing against higher classes to improve your own skill? Or are you going to start thinking about the championship and looking at a different approach to this? Henry Platt's got 3.4 seconds away from Ben Hicks, who is 6.8 seconds away from Sebastian Luxon, so no pressure between them, and he can keep that running. Limburgs, on the other hand, has got Darius in the same class, Skitter in the same class, and a top 3 on the cards for him to keep within the championship fight. A single point separates the likes of Peterson and Limburgs in the championship fight. And taking a look, where is Rafa? I don't see him on the list, and I think he is also a retirement. So Rafa Souza out of this race as well, which is a big one because he's actually 3rd in the Diamond Championship. So is Jason Beam out of this, which means Ben Hicks, who was out on circuit leading at one stage of the game, who's 7th overall at the moment, 6th in class, has an opportunity to score valuable points to move himself forward in the championship and to continue on. Ricky is out of the race. Neil did not start. Milestone is not here in the Platinum class. Sebastian Luxon is sitting in 2nd, and Flowscub getting a drive-through penalty with 5 minutes and 58 seconds to remaining of this race is going to be kicking himself. Martin Spritzer, Daniel Mutsuma behind Henry Platt, who is 7th in the championship at the moment. So for Henry Platt, this is a good opportunity to just bide your time and wait. Flowscub into the pits, doing his drive-through penalty, waiting for his chance. Unfortunately, not having a good time. Didn't have the best of qualifying, kept it consistent, but dropping a wheel off a circuit once, twice, 3 times too many during the course of this race. Bego Krobler from Team Wolf all over the back of Sebastian Lucasen, trying to really pilot this Mustang up through the order. He's lying 9th overall. Lucasen 8th overall at the moment, and Bego Krobler is not making it any easier for Sebastian. They are fighting it out for overall track position, and Jan Bego Krobler and both Sebastian Luxon are not afraid to go elbow to elbow. They do think about their championships, but 9 times out of 10 that they have been racing, and especially Bego making his debut here in ERA this season, will be looking to make an impact up against the veteran of Sebastian Luxon. However, both drivers do get the red mist on them and will be going and saying, listen, I want to hang on for as long as possible. Bego runs out a bit wide, loses a bit of time to Sebastian Luxon at the moment, and the drivers are just desperately waiting for their time to see the checkered flag. I don't think there's a single driver that is not frustrated right now by the rain, looking for it all to end, begging for it to end. Here comes Rafa. So Rafa's still out on circuit and is still pushing. So at the moment, Rafa is sitting way further. He's up into 1st. Apologies. Rafa is leading out the race of the Diamond with Peterson in 2nd and Sean Skitter. So Rafa is going to be scoring valuable points for his championship. Peterson 8 seconds back. Sean Skitter 3 seconds off him. Darius has got Limburgs all over the back of him, and Darius is not making it any easier for Limburgs to get on by. They're fighting out for championship honors here, and it's going to be a hard push. However, Skitter can be that bottle, that cork in the bottle that can close these two up, and it becomes a 3-way fight for 3rd overall and in class. Darius defends his life. Limburgs trying to see whether he can look for the inside through Blanchemont, through Pouant. Couldn't get it done. now exiting through, keeps right onto the tail of that BMW, trying to see if they can try push a little bit closer, a little bit towards the likes of Sean Skitter at the moment. With 2 minutes and 50 seconds remaining, drivers have now gotten into a rhythm. They are just biding their time. No one looking to go on a hard attack just as yet. They are just waiting for their opportunity. Martin Spritzer onto the back of Paul Venter is going to be trying to close the distance between him and see if he can get on by championship points between them at the moment. So Rodeo's got a lot of breathing room between these two and is going to be smiling. He's sitting roughly 4 seconds ahead of Venter and Spritzer at the moment, as the two of them will be concentrating on their drive. Darius just a little bit ahead, and we are getting reports in that the leader is on the final lap. Rafa is on his final lap, and this is going to be now or never for the drivers. Limburgs and Darius running nose to tail. Limburgs looks for the inside on Darius, who turns in on Les Coombe, trying to do whatever he can to hold the position, but it is Limburgs who cuts across the nose of Darius. Can he hold on now? Because it's 1 lap to go. It's the final push. No room for error for any of our classes. Rafa, who's looking to take his victory here today, ahead of Peterson and Skitter, running in third for the diamond, and Darius with a drive-through penalty. Darius with a drive-through penalty, but he doesn't care. He's going to fight it out regardless. He's got a drive-through, fights it into the corners. He wants to get ahead of Limburgs because even though the drive-through's there, he still wants to try and keep some time ahead of Bego Kroble. He's going to lose out to Ben Hicks at this point, but is just concentrating on his drive. Skitter, a little bit slow, heading towards No Name, and now seeing that Darius is out of the equation, has got nothing to worry about other than Limburgs to go Hail Mary down for the pass. So an interesting run nonetheless. Spritzer onto the back of Venter has got monster drive through Eau Rouge, both knowing it's the final lap of the race for them and they need to dig deep, and it's the 575 that's lost it. That's Ulrich de Jager right towards the lost, has lost it through the likes of Blanchemont, but is still going. Good to see him out there. Good to see drivers still pushing. Benjamin Till, Ulrich de Jager, Calgero, who was part of an earlier problem, is still going. With Darius now with a drive-through penalty, he's going to fall out of the top 5. But coming around now, heading towards the bus stop, he is going to be smiling ear to ear out in the Nissan GTR. Give it up for your round 4 winner in the diamond, and overall he kept it clean, he kept it going. Here comes Rafa across the line ahead of Christoph Peterson in second place, followed by Sean Skitter, managing to take his first podium in years here at ERA, ahead of Limburgs, who took 4th place. Henry Platt will take first in his class in the likes of the Platinum, ahead of Sebastian Lucasen in second place. David Roth will come across the line third in the Platinum division. But coming through as well, who has been fighting tooth and nail for this one, taking first place in the Gold division and soaking it in right now in the McLaren, is going to be Nico Lawrence. What a drive on him. And Finn Van Holland as well. Unfortunately, a little too far back, but the two of them had a brilliant fight for the first top spot of the podium. And what a drive from them. The question is, who is going to be next? Rodeo is going to come across the line. Mon Spritzer beats out Paul Venter right at the right line. Daniel Mutsuma going and falling back. Third of our Gold division. Didn't think he was going to be there, but it's going to be Nicholas Horace that comes across the line and is smiling in the Martini Porsche. Third in Gold, followed by Patrick, David Young, Lewis Knight, Darren Christie, Scaleras, Richard Frenier, Ulrich de Jager, and Benjamin Till round out the pack. here at Spa, and what a race on all their parts. What a drive. Man, oh man, what a race we had. Yes, the weather did not play nice for our drivers. However, they managed to see it through to the end, and we got to see some new names to the grid as well, which is wonderful to see the racing. However, Rafa managing to secure a podium is definitely showing he is a force to be reckoned with during this season, and we look forward to seeing how it's all going to work out. However, it's back to the drawing board for some for mechanical problems, and others just lady luck not working out for them. And we're going to try and get some of those drivers to come and have a chat to us and give us their thoughts on the race and how it all went out there, especially on a stellar drive. So with that being said, we're also going to take a look at some of the highlights of this race, because man oh man, there is a lot to unpack during the Spa race. From a lap 1 where there was only 7 paint rubbing against cars, no hard impacts on a wet Spa, that is incredible. And we're going to see if we can have a chat to one of the drivers to come through and go and talk to us. Coming first in the Platinum division, we're going to see if we can have a chat to Henry Platt. And we've got to see if we can possibly get him mic'd up. I know he's a bit worn out after his drive, and especially after a very hard-fought one. As are we going to get Henry Platt up to the commentary box? Possibly not. There he is, actually. We got Henry Platt to come and have a chat to us. Henry, welcome to the commentary box, and congratulations, first in the Platinum. How are you feeling after that one?
No, it's good, man. It was quite tough because it's hot here in South Africa at the moment, and on track it was quite cold. No, it was awesome, dude. I think the guy that was in front of me had a penalty from winning last race or something, and I didn't even see it, and all of a sudden I was first.
Well, it's all about that success penalty, whether it can work in your favor or not. Take us through. You started a little bit further back in the field and heading to the likes of a Rouge in the wet, in towards the middle of the field. We all know the dreaded stories. How are you feeling with that race start and just being in the pack?
Yeah, so I've done actually quite a lot of rain races at Spa before. And I knew that first time going through a Rouge, you just need to stay clear of all the cars in front of you. But you also need to check that someone from behind isn't coming too fast. So it's actually quite tough. And everyone got through there clean, I think. Well, at least in front of me. So shows you the quality of the races here.
Well, I can tell you that there was only 7 cars that shared paint with one another in lap 1. No major contacts, and that tells you how we got some of the best in the world racing with us. But Henry, taking a look now, a victory in the Platinum class. You are going to be sitting with a 15-second success penalty heading into round 5. What's the game plan for the championship? Considering you're 7th in the championship, this win will move you up through the order, but now the target is square up against your back.
Yeah, I don't know. With 15 seconds, I'll have to get some mad pace. But yeah, we'll just drive and see what happens, man. I don't have too much planned.
And before I let you go, after a long race, anything you want to say to everyone out in the background, to your fellow drivers out there that survived the conditions, to the teams that were out drenched at this point, going and getting the cars sorted out, but most importantly, and I'm sure you saw them coming down the main straight, our race fans, whether it's umbrellas, jackets, or braving the cold and wet in shorts and t-shirt, anything you want to say to them out there in the ERA airwaves?
Yeah, so first of all, thanks for all the admins and so on for hosting, you for streaming it for us, and then everyone in the stream that actually comes and says hi, watch us actually do something that we love. So yeah, that's awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Absolutely great stuff. So, that is Henry Platt taking the victory in his Platinum class. A brilliant move, nonetheless. Now, we're going to see another driver coming up, and it is going to be second in our Diamond class because Sebastian Luxon, we will have a chat to him just now. We're just trying to get him all mic'd up, make sure he's all okay. But we're going to get Christoph Peterson into the commentary box. Chris, welcome to the commentary box, and what a race that you had to put up with there. I mean, having 1 point separating you and your teammate lined up between one another, then all of a sudden, Sean Skitter becoming a cork in the bottle and fighting you in for the top, but getting a Nissan GTR of Rafa Souza ahead of you. I mean, it's just flipped the script for you during the course of this race.
A really chaotic race and a lot of strategy involved. I didn't take tires, and Rafa did the same, so he jumped me up obviously because of the penalty. But it worked out for me like in some way because it got me ahead of Darius. And like the unfortunate accident, of course, then kind of ended that battle. I don't know if I would have had a chance, to be honest, because the tires were falling off a little bit. But yeah, when Skitty came out, like I was kind of praying that he wouldn't fight me into the comp, because yeah, you saw it in the last like 10 minutes or whatever that was. He was kind of saving my life there.
And
So yeah, kind of lucky outcome.
I do want to inquire. You and Darius go back a long, long way. Friends, foes, and now going and fighting it out on track before the incident, all over your back bumper, chasing you down, getting ahead of you. It just seemed like the two of you were having a whale of a time, but at the same time, getting a little bit frustrated. I mean, take us through that little squabble that you two had.
I mean, I was kind of focusing on him all race. Like, I wanted Ben to be a bit quicker, to be honest, because I was quite quick in the first stint, and he cost me a few tenths, so Darius could kind of hang on. Yeah, but because I knew like there's the possibility that he wouldn't take tires, I thought he would take tires. I guess he also did because he had a lot of pace in the second stint, and I knew he has like a little bit warmer tires than me from practice. I guess he just gained that time on pit entry or something. Like, I couldn't really figure out why that was. But yeah, once I saw him 1 second behind me, I was really thinking I need to really lock in to stay ahead. Because he's really, really good in the wet, better than me, especially like now that I'm in the Mercedes. Yeah, so I already knew like there would be a fight, and I wanted to avoid it, and in the end we came together, I guess, but accidents happen. Like, I'm not mad or something.
Now let's talk about the championship because it's heating up in the Diamond Division. Rafa getting a win is moving him up in the order. Limburg's down into fourth position, but did set the fastest lap time of the race, which means he took that extra point away, which means everyone's a little bit closer to you. And this has been the reoccurring theme every single season. How are you feeling now that that target on the back getting bigger and bigger? And, well, the mix in points means that you've got a little bit more stiff competition attacking you from all angles.
I mean, I always knew it was gonna be harder in a new car, and I like before the season. I think I've said that in the other interviews already. I had kind of like worried that the competition wouldn't be as good this season as like initially we thought. But in the end, it turned out it's one of the most competitive seasons ever. It's great. Like, so many guys compete for the win, and I'm enjoying it. And I'm actually proud that I'm probably still P1 in the championship after this race. because like I'm far from winning every race this season. Far from it. Like I've collected a few fastest lap points. That was very good. Like that kind of bumped me up a little bit. But it's gonna be a hard fight because like Ben has missed 2 races, which is unfortunate because otherwise he would also very much be in championship contention. But he's gonna be in win contention in every race that he does. So we have at least 4 people, if not more, in contention for the win in every race, and that's just great. That's really, really amazing.
Well, talking about that, and I'm getting some news in, and a shout out to Chris Wall on this one because he's a mathematician out on Excel spreadsheet and a driver that really puts in the fight. But he's managed to work out that you and Rafa are tied on points for the championship heading into round 5. With that breaking news, what's going to be on your mind for round 5? Because that Nissan GTR is hot on your heels, plus you have got Limburgs hunting you as well.
I think the next track is Laguna Seca, if I'm not mistaken. Rafa has 15 seconds, and I'm quite confident at Laguna. I haven't driven the Mercedes there, I think, but in the Honda I was always quite good there. So I know the track well, and I'm confident. I want to compete for the win there. I want to take every point, and it's great. Like as I said, being tied in the championship is beautiful. I'm seeing it right now here too. Like Rafa and me are both on 50 points, 64 and 63 without the drop round, and then Limex is on 47 or 61 in total. So it's super great. I love it.
It's going to be a tight one, and Sieves every season is exactly that. We see some of the shots of Darius and yourself having a great squabble. But before I let you go, anything you want to say to all the drivers, to the teams, to everyone in the background, and most importantly, to the race fans that braved the horrendous conditions here in Belgium, going and cheering you on in the rain, getting to see all the action out there. Anything you want to say to our ERA family out in the virtual grandstands?
Yeah, thanks to everyone involved for keeping this league going. It's just great to come here every Sunday and race against everyone. Like, of course, there's always gonna be a little bit of like, not everyone can be happy after a race because there are losers, but I think we're all enjoying it. So everyone keep watching, keep subscribing, keep liking our videos so we can show more people how good the racing is here. And thanks to you, Steven, for doing this every week.
It's absolutely awesome, especially with the racing here. And no offense, Chris, I love you to pieces, buddy, but I'm looking forward to someone trying to remove that crown off your head that you've been holding on for so long. It's been 1 point nearly every season. We're gonna see something crack, or you've got to pull the rabbit out of the hat. But Christoph from Fear the Bones going and taking a second place here in the Diamond Division, second overall at a very, very wet spot. That being said, our final little bit of chat we got is going to be all about mental health and a driver that I think his nerves are a little bit shot right now out in the Lamborghini. Sebastian Luxon coming and having a chat to us second in the Platinum class. Sebastian, how are you feeling after that race? A monstrous run between yourself and the Platinum class. Lots of thinking, lots of working out, and it also looked like you were flirting with track limits with that Raging Bull.
Yeah, definitely. Just absolutely crazy red race here in Belgium. I was really happy with how everything went as per preparation-wise. I think qualifying was obviously great, starting on pole, but then Henry, he got a real race pace, so he caught me and made life very difficult for me, and I had that 5 seconds penalty. I knew I had to somehow get around that, so when he dropped back from me for the first time, I just went for it, and I hope I was gonna come out again. somewhat close to him, but yeah, that didn't really happen. So yeah, it is how it is.
And with that being said, I've got to ask a question. Starting towards the middle of the grid on a wet spa, looking at the championship, looking at Eau Rouge, looking at your competition around you, for any normal person, it is just a horror story start to finish, but only just a little bit of paint rub. What was it from your side looking at this and having to just maneuver your way through in around the circuit for the first lap?
Just anticipation of what everybody else is gonna do. Really, just react, and if I have to jump out of the way, be prepared to do that, and also be wary where I can go wide. I did practice some runoff areas in case I had to use them, but yeah, I even said before we started, I told myself, remember enjoying being nervous, because I was so nervous just before we went, because I know I'm fourth in the championship, and Ricky had a really bad qualifying, so I knew I had to capitalize. So I think that got to me a little bit. I got really nervous, but yeah, it worked out pretty well for me.
Well, with that being said, that's really put the nerves on edge, because I know that you're talking about being fourth in the championship, but we did a little bit of working out in the background, and you have taken the lead of Platinum right now, but Henry Platt takes into third place in Platinum. Where does that leave you thinking about the rest of the rounds? Because this has now flipped the script completely, as you're into first, Ricky's down, and you've now also got the likes of Henry Platt moving up into third place ahead of Milestone, Ricky into second, you into first. I mean, this is just turning the whole race upside down, the whole championship upside down, and a possibility of Sebastian Luxon getting a championship win in the Platinum class.
Absolutely. Well, now I just have to prepare for Laguna and just be super solid. Work on keeping mistakes to a minimum, and then we only have Dunnington and Mount Panorama ahead of the championship. So it's really starting to count, and I think it's a question about the fewest mistakes ends up winning. I know Martin Spitzer was also super fast, but I think he got taken out, and that's just how fast everything can just be flipped on its head. So a lot of preparation, and I think a bit of luck, and I hope I'll bag a championship this time. I really do.
It's been close every single time, and we're looking forward to seeing how it works out. Before I let you go, like we always do, and I know you thoroughly enjoy it, chatting to the drivers. Anything you want to say to the drivers and the teams that brave the conditions here today? Anything you want to say to the pit, not only just the admin behind the scenes working tirelessly, but most importantly, and I think you agree with me, the absolute amazing petrol heads we have out in the virtual stands cheering on race after race after race. That's watching one of the tightest championships ever we've had here at ERA across the board, and again to see some of the newer drivers having their chance at taking a championship for the ERA Sunday.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for everybody who is watching this and cheering us on. I know when I get messages from people, you know, mentioning, hey, I saw your race, that went really well and stuff. It really means the world to us. Not just me, but I probably are speaking for some other drivers too. And to the other drivers, thank you so much for just keeping this old sim alive, so we can have these wonderful moments and these crazy races. and having these tight championships, and it's just so much more enjoyable like this. And yeah, thank you for the stewarding, thank you for the commentating, and thank you for the admin team who is running this. And finally, as always, mental health. Take care of it, guys. It is important.
That's Sebastian Luxon giving his thoughts and being humble as usual, but I think the little bit that's forgotten to add there is rest of Platinum. Just hit the brakes, allow the purple Lamborghini to stay in front for the championship. It's been long awaited at this point. Sebastian, thank you so much for joining us. Absolutely wonderful to have you, and we look forward to seeing you out at Laguna Seca. Well, folks, it has been a great one, and I've got to say, I'm looking forward to saying farewell to the rain after being through it here at Belgium. But we move on next week, heading out to the beautiful circuit of Laguna Seca. You heard me right. On the 19th of February, we're going to be heading out to Laguna Seca for some incredible racing. The question is, who's going to be able to stay at the top of the rung as we get closer towards the end of the championship? It's going to be a night race, so it means you got to really know your brake markers to ensure you're not falling off the circuit and not getting screwed by the corkscrew. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's absolutely wonderful having you guys here joining us in the morning, the afternoon, and evening, right around the world. And we look forward to seeing you at Laguna Seca on the 22nd of February. Apologies, it's on the 22nd of February. But we welcome you to join us here at ERA, out on our Discord, joining in our championships, being a part of the incredible route racing we have here. Not only do we have racing, we have teaching sessions as well. Doesn't matter who you are, where you stand, it's gonna be a great run for the drivers, and it's going to be a great run for the team. So let's see how it's going to turn out. If you enjoyed what you saw today, leave a like and let us know what was your favorite part of the race. Let us know, who do you think is going to be walking away with the championship after a topsy-turvy run? And remember to hit that bell, that subscribe button along with the bell notification icon, as we're on the road to 500 subscribers here at ERA this year for 2026. We're going to make it happen. 500 people, 500 subscribers, and it is going to be incredible. Look over to our server 2 that was also broadcasting tonight. Plenty of fun racing out there from Mildred. A big thank you to all our stewards and admin in the background. Thank you to our drivers and teams braving it, but most importantly, the massive thank you to you, the legendary fans, the legendary petrol heads that come lap after lap joining us, race after race joining us, and letting us know what's your special moments. We're looking forward to seeing you guys next time right here at ERA. And like always, a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.